Welcome back to The Short Coat, coming to you from the amazing and intense world of med school from the students at the University of Iowa Carver College of Medicine. I'm Dave Etler. And so on our last show, we talked about, some of the reasons why people take a leave of absence from medical school. Maybe you need one. Maybe you're just curious. But here's what nobody tells you at that at that admissions interview. Taking a break from med school is like pausing a really expensive subscription service that also judges you for hitting pause. Let's talk about what actually happens when you step away. Let's talk about that with my brothers and sisters in podcasting. Say hello to MD PhD student Riley Bean Bush.
Hi, everyone.
M2 Megan Perry is here.
Hello.
M2 Jay Miller is here.
Hello.
And M2 Srishti Mather.
Hello.
So put yourself in the shoes of someone who's been told or who suspects that they might want to go on leave. What concerns would you guys have about a decision to step away?
Money.
Yeah.
Money.
Not returning. And also, for that reason, money. I feel like once you step away, you're not necessarily likely to not come back, but you're more likely to not finish than you were before.
Sure.
And also, when you've already started the process, the loans kind of loom big, which I don't know if anyone else ever thinks about this. Like, what if you don't finish and now you just have like $60,000 a year for like at in-state level? I don't even want to know what it is out of state. Like, that's just the level of loans you have on top of what you've taken from undergrad.
Yeah.
Right. And like when I take these loans out, there's always this thing of like, I'm eventually going to be a doctor and I'm eventually going to be able to pay this off because I'll maybe have that. But like, if you stop halfway through, there's no guarantee that you will have that salary that can pay that off.
Srishti, what were you thinking about when you decided to take a leave of absence? Like, what were some of the other considerations that you had boggling in your brain?
Mine was a very interesting process. Basically, mine was, I started working in a clinic during my application cycle, and I was working with Medicare and Medicaid patients, and I was like, ooh, this system's a mess. So that's what got me interested in public health, and I actually applied to programs and got into them, and I was looking at the university's deferment policy because I still wanted to do both of them. My reasoning for doing it was like, I want both to practice medicine, but also to like use that background to change the policy of medicine, which would then make practicing medicine easier. So that was my thought process behind that. And so like, that's why like coming into Carver, I knew that like, if I wasn't going to defer, I was going to do like this, take a year out, do an MPH, come back. But like finances is a huge thing I think about, especially with now new loan caps. That is definitely something I'm thinking about all the time.
Was the time to becoming a full-fledged doctor, other than the money, like just in terms of maybe your goal or aspiration to become a doctor, was that a factor that you ever thought about?
Was a little bit, especially because I took 2 gap years. And so, it is always in the back of my mind. I'll be 29, so 28. But I do remember someone recently, I think they were also an MD PhD student. They said like, well, I'm going to turn 32 anyways.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that's a fair point. Like, I'm going to reach that age regardless, hopefully. So like, I guess it doesn't matter when I get the degree. But then also it does matter because like, that's an extra year before I'm getting paid a full amount. That's an extra year of loans. So like, all of those things were definitely in my head.
Yeah. I mean, obviously my example is like a kind of a unique, well, maybe not as unique now as more people go into the program, but talk to an MD PhD if you want to like get a little life lesson on how not to rush through things, because we were kind of forced into not rushing. Well, not forced into, we chose to not rush. Because I think it is, for me, it's been one of the most transformative times of my life, because I think I went from a go state to always achieving the next goal to basically having to have this intense period of slowdown where actually the goal is not going to happen for at least 8 years. And so I had to just become like uber okay with, I am where I am and I'm not trying to rush to get through anything. I'm enjoying the moment I'm in, because the end goal is residency, and that's going to be hard. And then after residency, I'm going to be a doctor, and that's going to be hard. And so just like finding this like joy and everything as I'm going through it. But that's not to say that there weren't like intense challenges of, am I getting through this fast enough? I too remember that feeling of like looking down the barrel of an 8-year program when I had just graduated and thinking to myself, well, what age will I be when I graduate?
Yeah.
And thinking when you're, 22, you're like, oh my gosh, 30 is so old. And I still remember thinking that and feeling like, oh my God, I'm going to be so old. It's going to be so terrible.
You goddamn children.
And I'd have to get done before 30. And I think a lot of people think this, whether or not they realize, because gap years are becoming more common. More and more people are knocking down the door of 30, 40, et cetera, when they're graduating. But it's, the rush, you have to kind of find like a peace with the rush. But there are challenges as I'm thinking about them now. One of the things that you think about when you take time away is if you're interested in maybe having a family or building a life outside of it. A big consideration for me now is, oh no, I'm going to have a kid in residency because I've got this biological clock and things to think about. So there are those pieces where you might not even think of it in that given time. And then after, some of those consequences will continue to snowball. So it's not all rainbows and like Zen happiness of I am where I am and that's okay.
Yeah, you make a good point. I wasn't really thinking about that for MD PhD students.
Yeah, the like kind of on the back end or the
just the I mean obviously it takes a certain amount of time to go through, but and that feels like a sacrifice, but there are other sacrifices that you're making in there, for sure.
And it's not a sacrifice I even thought of when I was, choosing to do this program. And even with now thinking about that, I wouldn't have chosen anything differently. But again, that is a unique example and not one that everyone will think about. But there are those considerations kind of toward the end because med school is not everything. So thinking about those, like, I guess I want to give permission to the people who are listening. Like, you can think about other things in your life that you want that is not just becoming a doctor. Like, if you want to, have a family someday, like, that's totally valid and thinking about right now, even if you don't want it for years and years and years down the pipeline. I think I wish someone had told me that. Like, it's cool to like consider that when you're young.
I've definitely talked to at least one other classmate in our M2 class, and she's been married for a couple years, and I think she's planning to take a leave of absence to, hopefully plan having children in med school because there's, designated time off, and it's a lot better than what you're going to get in residency, and residency really varies by programs too. So like that is definitely a factor that people consider when they're looking at like family planning and things like that.
And it's worth thinking about sooner than later.
Well,
even if you don't want them sooner than later.
I mean, one of the things to think about when you're planning a leave is loans. I think they go into repayment at some point. You took like a year off,
I believe
6 months.
It's like 6 months. So if you were to take a year off at some point during that year, you would start paying your loans unless you got a deferment, which I'm not sure how easily those come. I know you can get them in residency, but I'm not sure
I don't know
what all the details are.
You might have to reapply for financial aid when you come back.
Right. And you won't be getting financial aid
during that year.
On your
Yeah.
leave.
Right.
So then you need to look at other
are you gonna have
sources
to have
of
a
income.
job, or
Are you
yeah.
going to work? Is that really a break at that point? Like,
Yeah.
there's definitely other things to think about.
And I believe you would lose, I think she kind of mentioned this, like we're grandfathered in to new loan rules, but you might lose those rules.
Insurance coverage.
Insurance coverage is a big one.
Kind of a thing to think about. And then there's the sort of academics aspect of it. So sometimes leaves are viewed less favorably by residency, especially I assume if the leaves are for, academic reasons or
maybe we should say academic reasons, like that you didn't like, not
failing
because you're going to
or whatever.
more than failing and need more time.
Need
or
more
maybe
time
not.
to do stuff.
Need more time might be okay.
But like,
I think you just need to, when you're applying for residency, you need to have a clear and honest discussion in your application materials. Why you had to do this.
Yeah.
And what you gained.
Yeah.
From doing it. What you learned.
I know there's also like there were concerns of like sometimes residency programs may like filter out if you've taken more than 4 years. And I feel like those concerns are always going to exist. But I don't think that should be like the main deterrent for taking a leave of absence. I think the benefits of it on your mental health and your academic standing should outweigh that.
Yeah, I think you have to make peace with the idea that if a residency program filters you out based on that,
You probably don't want to.
then you don't want to go there.
You don't want to go there, yeah. Because then,
It's
like,
not for you.
something happens down the line, they're not going to support you.
Right. Did we mention this already? Watching your class move on without you?
Ugh.
I was
Oh,
about to bring
boy,
that up.
oh, boy.
I was about to ask Riley about
Oh
your
boy.
experience with
Yeah,
Because-
that's the hardest part. Like,
Because if you
well,
take,
one of
even if you
them.
don't take a leave like you had to, Riley, often when you in medical school is very rigid in the schedule.
Mhm.
If you need to take like 6 weeks off,
Yeah.
if that's what you need to take, chances are you're going to take a year off because med school
It's
moves
just
on without
also
you.
hard to, like,
cycle.
Yeah.
There's only one residency application like cycle
Yeah.
in the year, and it's really difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so hard to, and it's so fun because, well, it's kind of fun for me because I've been able to see people I've started with graduate, not just kind of with the 4 years, but I've been able to go to match days where I'm like, oh, I know people. It's one of those complicated human emotions where you're simultaneously so happy and excited for people that you worked really hard with, and in the inside you cannot help but be like, oh, I wish I was with them.
Yeah.
Like, I wish I was celebrating not just them, but I was celebrating in kind of concert with them.
Yeah.
And it's really difficult to kind of manage that feeling because you want to be wholeheartedly excited and you want them to feel that wholehearted excitement. And also you have to like wrestle with this inner feeling of, am I going through fast enough? What am I sacrificing going through this? And it is really difficult. How do you feel going
I
into
think
that,
about that
knowing it will happen?
all the time. Like this past match day, like that was one of my top thoughts because like it's so cute, it's fun watching match day, it's so wholesome, and like my friends and I will be talking about it, and they're like, imagine our match day, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be there, but like I'll be there because I'm really happy for you guys. Also just in terms of like moving on as an adult, I have a lot of friends and family who aren't in medicine, and like it's hard watching them like have full-time jobs,
Yep.
get like like move on in their life and know that like that's not me. I can't do that.
There's
I'm
something
not at that point.
powerless in some ways. I know we
Yeah.
talk about powerlessness and being a med student in like lots of ways, but watching your friends, like they're like, oh, I'm going to apply for this other job because I can get this pay bump. And again, it's not all about money. Maybe they want to go to a different field or whatever. And you're just like, I couldn't even change a med school if I wanted, or
Yeah.
I'm on a track. And even if you're so happy to be on that track, there's that little feeling of like, gosh, I guess I got to be on this track.
I'm not
Like,
in
there-
control of how
I'm
this
not
is
in
gonna-
control of this. And that I've realized a lot in, watching a partner get jobs and do that. It's so funny to be like simultaneously in this adult world and not.
So your leave is going to take place before or after you start clerkships?
After. So my understanding is I will do my core year,
Mm-hmm.
and then I will take my exams.
Mm-hmm.
And then between my third and fourth, like M3 and M4 year,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gone.
Okay.
And then I come back.
So that brings up, and Riley, you probably think about this too, the professional challenge or the academic challenge of reintegrating.
Oh boy, am I
After
thinking
you've
about
been
this
away.
right now. My transitions meeting was yesterday with Ms. Billy Rudin. She was so nice to take just three MSTP students through, hey, remember what you got to do on the clerkships?
Yeah.
And she was like, do you guys have your pager? And I was like, I think so. I think it's somewhere.
Hey, wait, by the way, we should mention you did your
Yeah.
you did your thesis
Thank you.
defense recently.
Thank you, Dave.
I'm so sorry. I was
okay.
there for the public version of your thesis.
Dave was
anyway.
there.
It was so fun.
Thank you. But yeah, so I did just defend, and I am going back to clinic October 13th. And that date
Oh my gosh,
feels
that's so soon.
incredibly looming. And yes, it is very weird to me as I will be re-entering with a cohort of students who have been grinding at for a year all year and will really know what they're doing. And I will be coming in.
I want to know if this is true that you will get back into it and you'll be like, oh, okay, this is not so bad.
I think that the first week is going to be really tough, as it is with any strong transition, because I was just describing this to my husband yesterday. I said, picture you right now in your job and you're just gonna like switch fields, like full-heartedly switch fields of what you do, because that's kind of what it feels like to me. I just did research all these years, and not only am I getting a new job, but I'm like full-heartedly like 180 switching to a new thing.
Yeah, you're shifting from science to application.
And I remember a lot of it, and I know that every student who has come before me said, it will feel like riding a bike, yet it is terrifying. So yeah, it is definitely weird. And I don't know if you think about this, like going back, because you'll have to do your advanced year after. Is that correct?
Mine is a little different, especially because it's only 1 year.
Yep.
So I haven't yet crashed out about that yet.
It's okay.
Like, and maybe it'll happen later.
You shouldn't. You shouldn't ever.
I mean,
I'm barely crashing out. I'm actually just waiting for my like the will to study to come back. Like I'm hoping, I'm like, I need to get some fire.
Yeah, you have to rebuild those habits too, right?
Yes. So
you guys take classes in
barely.
No.
I took like 2 classes.
Oh, okay.
So no, I haven't taken an exam in years.
Okay.
But yeah, it's very strange, and it is a huge consideration for me now as I think about entering again, because you go from, well, again, depending on what type of leave you take, like I'm going from like top of food chain, basically. Like I've done exactly what I needed to. I'm top of grad student food chain to like very bottom again. And it's a weird little ego.
Happens anyway, though, Riley. I mean, even if you didn't do the PhD phase, like you go from you go from your M4 year when you're like as competent as, and as good at this as you can possibly be, and then all of a sudden you're an intern. And
even in every clerkship you do, you get great at OB-GYN for 6 weeks, completely change whatever you're doing. You go to the next thing.
Yeah.
So every student feels this, but it's a lot.
I imagine that for students who have unplanned leaves, that there is a fear of judgment from faculty and from peers and from future programs. I mean, we've already talked a little bit about that. There is a culture, I think, in medicine to not show weakness, which is odd considering what it is you guys are going to be doing with your lives, which is treating people who are having, problems.
Might I say though, like I don't know. Again, I am not applying, or I'm not admitting people for residency. But I also think that there's some value to kind of overcoming some form of stress in your life. Like I think there is strong value in life story for one person who has never kind of who has never had any challenges, never had to overcome anything, versus a person who has had a challenge and overcome that challenge. Like so I don't want people to think, oh, this is going to be a red flag and I will learn nothing of it. And residencies will only ever see this as like a problem. I think it is of great value in life to have little pockets of stress. In particular, this would be a large pocket of stress, but I do think there is strong value there as well. So I don't want people to just think it's a red flag.
I almost wonder with like the trend of gap years between medical school and undergrad, like becoming increasingly popular, if this might take like a similar trend, especially even in like the way that like residency programs view a leave of absence and how they, look at applicants that have them. I'm just curious to see how that maybe changes over the next like 10 years.
We'll check back in 5 years.
Sounds good.
Back.
Yeah, because like gap years have increased a lot.
But then at the same time, there's also these programs that are shifting to like 3-year med school programs and things like that.
Yeah, I was going to mention that.
Which I think it feels like, I don't know, like, do you then take a leave of absence to go do other degrees in that? And then you have like less of that pressure to, finish in that time frame that you're so like people really want to stay in that 4 years while your program's shorter. Maybe it's easier to go do like a research year or, whatever. But then, or is there this like pressure of, no, we're getting you in and done in 3 years. That's the point of our accelerated program. That kind I don't know. I'm not in one, so it's hard to know what that would feel like.
I would hate it. If Harvard College of Medicine shifted to a completely 3-year program. I don't think that's how it works. I think if they do it, it's an option rather than.
Apparently, NYU is now fully 3 years.
No,
it's an
NYU.
option.
This is a bad idea. How can you have a podcast? NYU.
Also,
If it's 3-year program.
my source is Reddit. So.
I was actually abroad in Ecuador over the summer with students from like other med schools across the country, and one student was from NYU, and we were talking to him about this because he chose to do the traditional 4 years
Oh,
and take
okay.
it slower, while other classmates can choose to do 3 years or whatever. And I think a lot of people will maybe choose like the 3-year track and like add a research year or do different things like that. And I think that was maybe part of his decision of why he chose to do the 4 years. But I thought that was really interesting of kind of giving people the option of that like built in.
Yeah, I'd be so interested to hear, like, because obviously there is the consideration of, well, not even tuition in the case of NYU, because it is free tuition.
It is free
that
tuition.
true?
Yeah.
Okay, so like that, let's now in this example, we can take it out. But I do think there is such fallacy to thinking like, oh, that one extra year of my life, that could change everything.
Yeah.
Again, there are examples, and you could give me so many, and I'm sure I'll say this and everyone will be like, this is where you're wrong. This is a great example of why 3 years would matter compared to 4.
Visit theshortcoat.com/tell us to tell me why Riley is wrong.
Yeah, do that.
Anyway, keep going.
Either way, but I think there is fallacy in thinking that one extra year is that's gonna change it all, especially when you're kind of maybe in your early 20s. Again, anecdotally, I had the option to finish my PhD, so I would have finished the program in 7 years versus 8. And so this was like a very real question mark for me. It was like, is that one extra year of my life really gonna like change everything? Like, am I gonna be happier because I've done it faster? And like ultimately I decided to do the 8-year track because there was value in not feeling like I am, being dragged behind a train as it keeps moving and it's only going to get harder and harder and harder.
Yeah.
And so I knew that having those moments of reprise and of a moment to breathe was what I wanted. I wanted extra time for break. I wanted, probably in the case of a 3-year versus 4-year med school, more time to like let that information digest. Take a trip your M4 year. You probably don't get that.
Yeah.
in your 3rd year.
I don't think he would have been abroad if he was doing the 3-year track either.
Yeah.
So like he got a really cool experience with that, and he said something about that as well. So
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of really cool opportunities that you have if you just take it slower.
Even in undergrad, like, I had the opportunity to graduate earlier, but instead, like, I decided to go do the full 4 years, and I took a bunch of stupid fun classes.
Yeah.
And like, those were really important for my personal growth, my mental health, just getting the chance to learn or like do something that interests me.
Well,
And
you learned about yourself, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You learned what you like to
And-
do
yeah.
outside of the rest of this.
Exactly. And like, I don't think I would have ever wanted to switch that. Like, I am very grateful that I took the time for that.
I'm not sure I've ever had a podcaster who's gone on leave who came back and was like, nah, I wish I hadn't done it.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
No.
I think they come back and they're like, yeah, it was necessary. I needed to do it.
Yeah.
I learned some things and I was able to, fix whatever problems that made me take that leave. So Shortcoats, if you have something you want to say about today's show, about something you want to hear someday, question you have, go to theshortcoat.com/tell us, send us a message. Love to hear from you. I'd love to, you know what? Go there and just say hi
Please.
to me.
Yeah.
Okay? That I would love. Otherwise, that's our show. Until next time, I'm Dave Etler saying don't let the bastards get you down. Say bye, everybody.
Bye.